no matter how grim things look, for one thing, I know that the light always wins. So we don't really have to worry. However, that doesn't mean we don't have to work our tails off, because that's part of the light. So that's how it goes on. First of all, to set the stage, we were a bunch of young people who migrated to San Francisco, mid-60s, me personally, summer of love, 1967, so-called. Had been in New York City, trying to break into off-Broadway theater and, you know, sort of reading the beatniks and being kind of thinking of myself as a bit of a rebel type, when these interesting newspapers started to appear on the newsstands in the village, such as the San Francisco Oracle. And I'm reading in the San Francisco Oracle people like Alan Ginsberg, who I had read as beatniks, talking about God. And all this incredible artwork and all this energy coming out of this newspaper, where all these people are really excited. They're obviously having a good time. They're obviously having some really interesting psychic and spiritual adventures. That was just very compelling. And then we heard of this gathering that came to be known as the Human Be-In, when thousands and thousands of hippies showed up in Golden Gate Park in San Francisco and had this tremendous celebration. Music and speakers and, you know, the characters of the day like Alan Ginsberg and Tim Leary showed up, and I'm sure the Grateful Dead played and so forth. We're in New York City and we hear about this. Oh, we've got to have one of these in New York. So we put together a thing that doesn't amount to much in Central Park in New York. And we just start feeling drawn to San Francisco like thousands of other young people in America at that time. So we put it together, my brother and my wife and I get some kind of a driveway, get a car of some kind and drive to San Francisco, and we don't stop until we get to the Pacific Ocean. We get out of the car and we walk down the Pacific Ocean. The next day we're on Haight Street and caught up in this incredible time that was happening of young people streaming in, people living on the streets, people piled up in community housing, and it seemed like in that time you could live on nothing almost. You didn't really need it, and you didn't think about where your next meal was coming from. I mean, ultimately we went out and got jobs at the post office and one thing or another. But we were doing what hippies do out there and experimenting and having all these amazing experiences that were really changing our perspective about who we were as human beings. I'd say that previous to that, a lot of us in my generation, certainly myself, were kind of semi-depressed, you know, kind of not too interested in stuff, cynical, not sure where we fit in. Well, we were young, you know, we're in our 20s, but still we were already kind of down about things. And we went from that overnight into excited to be alive, realizing that everything was possible, that, you know, infinite possibilities, and you know, love, and peace and love, and the world's kind of crazy out there, but hey, we are waking up here as a generation. We're waking up to the fact that we are each other. You know, it's all in the mind, you know, George Harrison, we're dancing to the Beatles, and we're alive. We've come alive. We give up alcohol, we give up cigarettes, we give up meat. You know, we're gradually purifying ourselves and feeling better about who we are, and a big change. And then we hear about this gathering that's happening. Initially, it happened at Glide Memorial Church on Thursday night, and then it moved to the Straight Theater on Haight Street, and then the Family Dog Ballroom, where this fellow from San Francisco State, a guy about 10 years older than us, but you know, one of us, a hippie, Stephen Gaskin, was having these gatherings and these meetings where we could get together and kind of talk about these experiences that we were having, and what does this stuff mean, and should we be putting some stuff together here? Other than party, 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 and dance on the streets and ride the buses and go to the beach and stuff. So we started seriously planning, and he described it, I thought, really well when he said it was kind of like the Second Continental Congress for the Second American Revolution. And that's what we felt like, revolutionaries. We felt like we were on the cusp of creating a new society. I mean, we weren't shy about our ambitions for what we thought we could accomplish. So these classes went on for a couple of years, from 68, 69, 70, and it was actually a group of Methodist ministers having a meeting in San Francisco, and some of them came to this Monday night class, and they were intrigued by what we were talking about, and realized that there was a lot of crazy stuff going on in their communities all over the U.S. of young people tripping and people being freaked out by it, and what does it all mean. And they thought, they heard some sense being made here, and thought that the Monday night class message would be valuable if it went out into the rest of the country. It was heard elsewhere, which brought on the idea, hey, let's have a caravan, let's put together a tour, and let's move out of our apartments into school buses. And ended up about a couple hundred plus of us moved out of our apartments, left our jobs at the post office, fixed our buses up to be livable, little stoves and beds for our kids. Some of us had kids, not many, and headed out across the country. And it was October 12th, 1971, when we left San Francisco. And I was just talking to Stephen today, and he was reminding me a story about the caravan. Was that we went up to the New Oregon border, and the word had gone out that these hippies were coming, and they had a lot of dope. They had a lot of marijuana on board. So we get to a rest area in Grants Pass, Oregon, and the cops are waiting for us. And they found, I think Stephen in his bus had a peyote button, which he used as kind of an emblem on his dashboard. And they found a little grass, and then there was grass on these buses, and a lot of people just threw it out the window or whatever, but they busted Stephen being, we'll take the main guy out, So we actually went into court, and this judge says, what's the deal? And Stephen says, well, we're about to go on this tour, and we're actually peaceful. And our whole message is that, we're not scary. We want to help bring peace. We want, and you have to remember, at this time in America, there was a war between generations, and in actual fact, people were arming themselves on college campuses. Kent State had happened in 1970. There were some people saying it's time to hit the streets with guns. And when we said, you know what, that's not the way. This is a revolution, but this is a different kind of revolution. This is a revolution about peace. Guns are not going to work. We've tried that, and it's never worked. So the judge says, that's interesting. Well, tell you what, I'm going to let you go out on your tour, but we're going to watch you, and we're going to follow exactly what happens with all you people going around the country in these buses. And if it looks like you're doing what you say you are doing, well, we'll re-examine this. But if not, then, you know, you're going to pay a price. And that's what happened. We went out and we left in October. We were in Washington, D.C. at Christmas. We came back through Nashville and landed back in California in January of 71. And we didn't have any apartments to go back to, or jobs, or anything. So now what? Well,